Welcome back to the Irish Bandit channel. Welcome back to more Cabin Fever. We are just getting into Chapter 6, Attachment. In the last episode, the main protagonist of the story told Mallory about his dog, Lola. We really don't know what exactly happened to her, but we're starting to know Mallory a little more. She still hasn't totally opened up to us yet, but that should be coming up very, very soon. So let's stop talking and let's get on with Chapter 6, Attachment.
Good morning, sleepyhead.
Well, that can only be one person. The voice drew me up towards consciousness, but I didn't know if it was real or part of a dream. I heard a familiar creaking. Who could be walking up the stairs? I was pretty sure it wasn't me. No, I was definitely laying in bed. My eyelids were heavy and my brain was only half awake. A weight pressed down on the bed near my feet.
Wakey, wakey.
Wakey, wakey, hand off Snitwet. It sounded like Mallory, teetering on the edge of consciousness, hoping I'd be left alone, falling back to sleep to slumber. Oh, let me try that again. It sounded like Mallory. I teetered on the edge of consciousness, hoping I'd be left alone to fall back into slumber. The weight at the end of the bed shifted, shaking me a little. I squeezed my eyes shut. I've done that.
Okay, you leave me no choice.
Oh, what is she gonna do?
Incoming pounce attack!
Oh, that's cute. I was jolted awake then, fully by this time. Wow, my eyes do not want to work. I was jolted awake then, fully this time, by the force of Mallory jumping on top of me. A panic shout escaped me as I yanked the covers up past my neck, leaving only my face exposed. Mallory beamed, straddling me proudly. Her clear, aquamarine eyes filled with mischief.
Oops, did I scare you? Well, you left me no choice. I tried calling you, throwing things at you, and wafting delicious smells in your direction. None of those worked, so this was my last resort for getting you to wake up. And it did the trick. You're awake now.
What kind of monster just pounces like that on a poor defenseless sleeping person?
Kinda hope he's not sleeping naked.
Monster, you say? Wow, you sure do know how to give a girl a compliment.
I scowled at her playfully. I was pretty sure she was resting her whole weight on me, but she felt like nothing. Then I thought I'd be legitimately... Oh my god. Let me start that again. I scowled at her playfully. I was pretty sure she was resting her whole weight on me, but she felt like nothing. And though I'd been legitimately startled and more than a little confused, I found now that I didn't dislike the situation.
If you're jumping about like this, does that mean your leg is feeling better?
Mallory looked down at her bandaged leg, then back at me. She pursed her lips.
It doesn't hurt as much, but it feels kinda weak. Like it might give out if I put too much weight on it.
I didn't know enough to know if this was normal, or what it meant. I nodded vaguely and just stared up at her, and she stared down at me. And then I shook myself.
So why did you need me to wake up so urgently?
House is on fire. No, she cocked her head.
I made you breakfast and I didn't want it to get cold.
Good reason.
And I was worried. You're usually up way earlier than this. And maybe I was a little lonely and sort of missed you.
Aww. What did she mean by usually up way earlier? I craned my neck to check the clock on my nightstand. Oh, that's what she meant.
Damn, what's up with me? I never sleep this long.
Sometimes your body just needs a little extra rest. Okay, now...
Mallory twisted, leaned over the bed, and produced as if from nowhere a plate of breakfast.
Ta-da!
Waffles. She held the plate out, showing me a stack of fluffy golden waffles. They smelled amazing, fruity and sweet, flecked with red and drizzled with maple syrup.
My mouth is watering. I never knew that was an actual thing that happened to mouths.
Strawberry waffles breakfast from scratch will do that to you.
She looks so proud of herself.
You'll have to tell me once you taste them, but I think I may have outdone myself this time. The only thing I did make from scratch is the syrup.
That's okay. I made the syrup from scratch.
Yeah,
Wait, you did?
I nodded.
There are tons of maple trees around here. I harvest their sap at the end of each winter. It's pretty simple. I drill small holes into the trees and insert what's called a spile, which is like a spout. The sap drains out through there and into a bucket. When I have enough to fill a pot, I essentially boil it down until it's mostly evaporated. Then it's syrup. And the best part is, it keeps forever, so I can just store it in glass jars in my pantry.
Mallory had never looked so happier or more amazed or more beautiful. Now
That
he's
sounds
starting
like
to
some
fall.
kind of fairy magic.
The real magic is your cooking. This looks incredible. Although, do you mind taking it downstairs so we can eat there? I'd like to get dressed and, well...
He's naked. Mallory looked down at herself and the way she was straddling me, and her face turned bright red quite rapidly. She scrambled to get off me, nearly dropping the plate of waffles in her flustered state.
I'll do that now. Sorry. See you downstairs.
Without making eye contact, she raced down the stairs. There came the sound of cutlery being fumbled with in the kitchen below. I dragged my hand down my face, equal parts amused, exasperated, and happy. After breakfast, Mallory was quick to scoop up my plate and cutlery. I offered to help, but she said she would do them herself. By now, I had learned that there was no arguing with her. Not because she was particularly stubborn, but because I caved at the slightest pushback. She made me weak, but, in a nice way. So while she cleaned up, I walked to the window overlooking the garden. The skies were dark and dreary, far more ominous this morning than before. The ground glistened, and I could see little puddles on the path leading up to the door. They rippled as a gust of wind rushed past.
I guess it's another day indoors. Look how glum that weather is.
I glanced back at Mallory in the kitchen. She took a look through the window, making a little pouty face.
Also, clouds like this mean we're not getting any solar, so we're relying on what's stored in the battery bank for now. We should limit how much electricity we use today.
Okay, I'll be extra careful.
I turned back to the window and pressed my hand against it. The glass was cold, much colder than usual. If it was going to rain all day and be chilly, I should bring in some extra wood for the fire. 30 pieces should do. Then I stole another glance back at Mallory. Mallory in her threadbare sweater dress, so thin and short. Better make it 50 pieces, I told my brain. My brain agreed. It normally does. Outside, the rain was really coming down. I kept close to the edge of the cabin, sneaking along under what cover there was on my way to the woodshed. The ground was too muddy to use the wheelbarrow, so I figured I'd have to make more than one trip. I gathered up a big armload of firewood and brought it back to the cabin. I repeated this process, getting wetter and colder as I went. On my last trip to the woodshed, it occurred to me that I would never have bothered with this much effort if it were only myself in the cabin. I would have made do with a few logs already inside, wrapped myself in blankets, and when it came to it, suffered the cold. But Mallory deserved better than that. After bringing all the wood inside, I laid it on a towel beside the fireplace. I always inspected logs for bugs. I didn't want anything creepy hitching a ride inside my home. Once that task was done, I arranged a couple of logs along with some kindling and got a little fire going in the fireplace. I sat there for a few minutes, stoking the flames while the wood hissed and popped. Soon the whole living room was toasty. Mallory appeared at my side and sat down. She leaned towards the fire, its orange glow warming her face. I caught myself staring at her and slapped my hands against my thighs.
Well, I better make use of this time and get some work done on my computer.
Doesn't that use up the electricity?
Yes, but need work to make money and...
The computer only draws around 250 watts. A couple of hours won't make much of a difference.
Oh, well, there you go. Mallory stayed by the fire while I went to my desk and booted up my computer. The sound of the drizzling rain outside and the crackling fire in the fireplace soothed me as I settled into my chair. I could live like this forever, I thought. The peaceful atmosphere was interrupted by the annoying cascade of chimes from my email. I took a peek at my inbox and saw more spam, of course. We deleted it last time, let's read it this time to see if there's anything good. I opened up the first of the sketchy forwards.
Wow, more new cures for the virus discovered.
Ooh.
This says, miraculous cure found. Dihydrogen monoxide combined with pink sodium chloride will save your life. Click here now to learn. Yeah, no, that link is definitely staying blue. And this other one has more emojis than actual words.
Also have my text messages. No. Mallory laughed.
You never know. One of those headlines might turn out to be true someday.
Oh, Mallory, you're such an optimist.
Yeah, it's not a bad thing. I rolled my eyes playfully. Without thinking about it more than that, I deleted both the emails. Then I spent a few minutes checking some websites that were part of my daily routine. Sites for tech news, world news, and weather. A random ad for amazing delivery service reminded me about the first aid kit I needed to replace. I decided I might as well grab some painkillers too, since there had only been a handful left in the bottle when Mallory had asked for one for her leg. She seemed much better now, but still, it was good to have things like that on hand. You never knew when a headache might strike, or a joint might get sprained. I ordered the new first aid kit and the aspirin, and then something else caught my eye. It was a type of ad I'd never usually get, and certainly never paid mind to, but for some reason I did this time. It was just a basic advertisement peddling some chintzy jewelry, but something compelled me to take a closer look. After clicking through, I was presented with an image of a stunning silver ring in the shape of a bow. The color and the sparkle immediately reminded me of Mallory. I wanted to buy it. For her. The next thing I knew, the order had been placed and a message appeared letting me know that all three of my purchased items would be arriving via drone drop in the next few days. The whole order plus delivery fees was ridiculously expensive. But what else was I going to spend money on? I leaned back in my chair, a little bit in disbelief of myself. Aw. I looked over at Mallory sitting in the living room. She had that old basket of clothes set beside her, with a little pile of things neatly refolded beside it. Her head was bent low over some garments in her lap, her fingers working away. I realized that she was using a needle and thread, sewing up holes and fastening buttons back where they belonged. I forgot about the work I'd wanted to get done. I got up out of my seat and wandered over to look more closely at what she was doing.
Are you mending my clothes?
It sure looks like it. She brightened.
Yes, those ones are already done, and these ones here are still in progress.
I didn't even know you'd been working on this.
Well, normally I work on it before I go to sleep or when I first wake up. I find it sort of meditative.
I'm like that with dishes.
You know, you don't have to do all these things for me.
I like keeping busy, and I like being helpful. Really, you've been so generous and kind taking me in like this. I just want to do everything I can to help you.
She kept working while she talked, so sweet and matter of fact. I smiled, and suddenly I realized I really don't want to bother with work. I just wanted to hang out with her.
You know, I don't think I'm in the right headspace for work today. Luckily, I don't have any looming deadlines, so maybe I'll take today off?
There you go.
We could just sit and enjoy the fire together. Maybe we could play a board game.
Mallory looked up at me in surprise.
I love games. What do you have in mind?
I searched my memory. What two-player games did I have kicking around? Most of the board games left in the cabin were more than a decade old. They were the ones I used to play with my family when we vacationed here. and many of them were probably missing cards or pieces.
How about chess? Do you know how to play?
Surely the chess set on the game shelf would still be intact, and those old pieces would be thrilled to get some use after all these years.
Chess? Yes. I used to play with my sister sometimes. I'm probably not very good at it.
That's okay. Neither am I. I'll grab the game. Meet me at the table, okay?
I went to retrieve the chess set, just where I remembered. I unearthed the box and was dusting it off with my sleeve when I heard Mallory make a little noise.
Oh,
Uh-oh. I turned to check on her. She was still sitting on the floor beside the fireplace, mending clothes strewn about.
What's wrong?
She raised her hand up to her lips and began biting her nail.
I can't get up. My leg's fallen asleep.
Her words brought back a familiar phrase she said the night we met. I chuckled and reached out my hand to her.
Well, at least it's only asleep and not caught in a trap this time.
She smiled and accepted my hand to lift her up. Funny how I didn't even think twice about it anymore.
White or black?
We set the board out on the table and started setting up the pieces.
White, please.
Like her hair. I sat on the black side of the board and finished arranging my pieces. When I looked up, Mallory was examining the box with her pursed lips.
Are you missing a piece?
Looks that way. I don't mind subbing an assault shaker or something else to play with.
No way. We should play with real pieces.
She gave me a look. It was sort of dismissive, sort of disheartened. But I meant what I said, and I knew how to cheer her up.
Seriously, I can make you a proper chess piece. And I can make it look however you like.
Mallory stared at me, one eyebrow a little higher than the other.
How?
Yeah, how? I held out one finger and headed towards my computer desk.
Remember the gauze with the cute potato pattern on it?
3D
I
printed.
printed that out with my 3D printer. See?
I took the equipment out and hooked it up to my computer, giving her a quick overview as I did.
This is just a small one, but it's very useful and quite simple. I just plug in the USB cable to my computer, then use a program to tell the printer what to make.
Whoa, that's so cool. I'm missing the queen. Can it make that piece?
I let out a theatrical laugh, throwing my head back as I did so.
This baby can make anything your heart desires. Ask and you shall receive.
She cracked her chin while she thought.
I desire a cat.
I like it.
A cat queen? All right, that works.
Can I watch?
Just make all new pieces. The enthusiasm she showed left no room for arguments. I loaded up my software to search for cat and picked out a cute figurine. I set it up to print and let Mallory press the very last OK button to get the process started. Several indicator lights on the 3D printer flashed as it got to work. It started to hum and whir.
It's like something out of science fiction.
Mallory tilted her head to get a better look at the printer. She stood up to lean over and watch the cat being formed from above. Some of these printers take a long time to print. So the fact he's getting his so quickly is, wow, this is a story. The angle exposed her cleavage and bra. I tried not to look, unsure if she was aware of what her positioning was putting on display. I'd rather assume it was a mistake and not take advantage of it, no matter how attractive the sight was. I mean, he's probably hasn't seen a girl in years, so. We were both quiet while we waited. Level after level, the cat queen built upon itself. And about 4 minutes later, we had our replacement chess piece. Wow, 4 minutes? Damn. That's good time. I removed the piece from the printer, handed it to Mallory, and watched her expression turn from amazement to joy.
It's perfect.
You could say it's perfect. And it wasn't the only thing. We sat down to play, and the conversation came so quickly. We shared what we knew about chess, how we'd each learned to play, and how the game itself dated back to the 15th century, and how these days most people played it online. We talked about Deep Blue, the first computer to beat a world chess champion. Bleh. And then the conversation turned to other random things that made us laugh, little anecdotes from childhood, questions we had about the universe. It turned into one of those days where the time just passed you by, impossible to notice. Until Mallory sat up straight while I was contemplating my options, pointing urgently.
Hey, look! There! The clouds are breaking.
Nuh-uh! I'm not falling for that. You just want me to turn my back so you can move the pieces around. You trickster, you.
I tisked at her, shaking my head, and she laughed.
No, seriously. Look, the sun is shining over there. Can we go outside to look at it?
I twisted in my seat. Through the window, I could see the great gray sky, and there, over the mountains, a glowing crack shredding golden sunbeams down onto the land.
Wow. Okay, yeah. Good idea. And I know a perfect viewing spot.
Mallory gleefully hopped off her chair and took my hand in hers. Outside, the air was damp. We walked together around the side of the house to the ladder I used the other day. I climbed up first, then turned to help Mallory up the last ladder rung and over the edge of the roof. Her hands felt so little and fragile in mine.
Watch your step. It's still wet and might be slippery. Luckily, the ridges help give traction.
We stood side by side, and out of an abundance of caution, and only an abundance of caution, I held her. Okay. The sun was on its way down, and I could tell the sunset was going to be incredible.
What do you think? Pretty good spot to watch the sunset?
Mallory took a few steps forward, leaving my hands empty. I shoved them into my pockets. For a moment, everything was quiet. I scanned the world around me and saw gray clouds streaking downward in the distance. Trees in heavy shadow with their tips lit up by the sinking sun. The ruins of the city nestled in thriving landscape, and her. She let out a long, careful sigh, turning slightly to look back in my direction.
It's the most beautiful thing I've ever seen.
A cool wind blew past, catching her shining platinum hair and sending a few strands dancing around her head. There was something mournful in her tone. Wow, why is this getting to me? Let's try again. There was something mournful in her tone, and it made my heart ache.
Thank you, from the bottom of my heart, for showing me all of this.
I stared at her, wondering why she sounded so sad, yet also understanding that her sadness was the same as mine. God, she was beautiful. I stared and didn't know how I'd lived so long without her. Something changed up there on that roof. I came back to myself when a strong, cold gust rushed past me, and I realized the sun had dipped beneath the horizon. I spent the whole time watching Mallory instead of watching the sunset.
It's already over? It happened so quick.
Yeah, it did.
Mallory had her arms wrapped around herself, sorry. I saw goosebumps on her legs, a little shivering in her shoulders.
I don't know about you, but I'm freezing. Shall we go back in?
Good plan.
I never paid attention before. I never cared.
She was so sad. I wanted to make it stop for her, but I didn't know how.
Maybe the most beautiful things are beautiful because they're fleeting. You have to appreciate them while they're there. But hey, there'll be another sunset tomorrow.
It was getting dark now. I felt a few raindrops, and the air felt heavy and sharp.
It's starting to rain again. Come on, let's go in.
Mallory turned slowly, nodding, not looking me in the eye. I stood by the ladder.
After you.
Her head was bowed, and she moved so tentatively, but I couldn't tell where it was because she was... I couldn't tell whether it was because she was sad or because she was nervous. That's the gentlemanly thing to do, help her off the roof.
Let me help you down.
I offered my hand. She gripped it firmly and shuffled towards the edge of the roof, turning around. She lowered herself onto the ladder slowly, making her way down one careful step at a time. I waited for her to reach the ground before I climbed down after her.
Thank you. You're like my own personal guardian. I feel like you'd never let anything bad happen to me.
No, Bandit, don't think that.
Not if you could help it anyway.
Of course. I care about your well-being.
And you care about her. She smiled at me, and we carefully made our way back inside the house. The fire had burned low, but the inside of the cabin was warm and inviting. I felt a strange sense of calm.
It's so nice in here. I didn't realize how cold I was.
I nodded, resisting the urge to remind her about the jacket I'd offered every time we went through the door. I could tell she wasn't in the mood for me to poke fun at her. It was getting late. My stomach ached for something to eat, and I was sure she needed something too.
How about I heat up something from the freezer? And while we're waiting, we can have tea. It's my turn to make it this time.
That sounds nice.
She settled herself by the fire, gazing into the glowing embers. She seemed a million miles away. Oh, is she finally going to open up? I made my way over to the kitchen and filled up the kettle. I took out a container of stew and began the process of thawing it on the stove. I searched through my pantry for a particular jar of loose leaf tea, something I wanted her to try, and waited for the water to boil. When the tea was made, I poured Mallory's into a tacky cat mug my mother had bought at a yard sale once upon a time. I was glad to see Mallory's eyes light up when I handed her the mug.
Oh my, this is the cutest.
I thought you might like it.
I sat by her on the couch. The rain was coming down again, drumming hard on the window. We just sat listening, sipping our tea.
This tea is super yummy. Where did you get it from?
Phew, I was hoping you'd say that. I actually made it myself.
Damn, dude, is there nothing you can't do?
If you didn't like it, I probably would have told you it was a free sample that came in the mail or something.
You really made it? Like you grew it in your fish garden?
Yep, harvested the tea leaves myself, dried them, tested different blends.
That's amazing. Who taught you all that?
I cleared my throat, a little nervous.
My mom did. She was a doctor. But she always had an affinity for herbal home remedies too. You know, ginger for an upset stomach, honey for a sore throat, antibiotics for an infection. When I was a kid, I didn't know there was any difference. All I knew was that whenever I was sick or hurt, my mom would whip out some drink or salve that made everything better. It was like witchcraft.
She's a witch!
She was really the one who taught me all about plants, how to take care of them, how they can be used.
Remembering my mother like this made my throat feel tight, brought a tear to my eye and a smile to my lips. It was the strangest feeling, totally bittersweet. Mallory's voice softened.
Your mother sounds incredible. If she was a doctor, then she probably saved many lives.
Yes, she and my father both helped save many people.
Gathering the courage to continue. Damn it, Mio. Gathering the courage to continue talking about them, I took a deep breath and closed my eyes.
They both died helping people. Until the bitter end, they tried to save as many lives as possible.
Mallory put her hand on top of mine. It was unusually warm, probably as a result of her holding onto the tea mug.
They left behind a wonderful person, and you should be proud of that fact. I'm sorry that you lost them.
Hearing her kind words nearly sent me into another wave of emotions, but I managed to hold them back. I'm having a tough time doing that.
Thanks. So, is it your turn again? I've told you about my parents and my dog, but you haven't told me anything about your family.
Well, tell us a bit about her sister. I tried to make my voice sound light and teasing, but really I was serious. I wanted to know her. Her hand twitched, and for a second I was afraid she would take it away, but she didn't. She just stared at me, and the silence went on so long, I felt I had to fill it.
Honestly, Mallory, why are you so secretive? Why can't you tell me what you were doing out in the rain that night?
Oh, buddy, no.
I want to know what brought you to me.
That did it. She pulled away and sank a little deeper in the couch, looking so sorrowful it hurt.
I'm scared to talk about it. Just thinking about it hurts so much. And I'm afraid that if I say it out loud, I won't be able to take the pain.
I frowned.
I understand. But if you share it with someone who cares about you, then they'll carry some of that pain too. You won't have to shoulder it alone.
It never hurts to talk about it. Trust me on that one.
That someone is me, by the way. In case it wasn't obvious.
She smiled softly.
I do want you to know me. To know about them. My family. Life was hard, but I loved them so much. It was just me, my mom, and my little sister. That was my bubble. We lived in a 2-bedroom apartment. We learned to do a lot with the little. Cooking nice meals out of subpar food, dressing up in old worn-out clothes, reenacting our favorite books when we couldn't read because the power was out again and there was no light. Our mom was a factory worker, so she had to go out every day to earn money for us so that we could at least survive. When she started showing symptoms, they sent her home. She tried to protect us. She stayed in her room, but we still went in, always trying to get her to eat or drink, giving her aspirin to keep down that awful fever. She kept telling us to stop coming in. We called for an ambulance already, but we were still on the waiting list. And what were we supposed to do? Leave her to die alone in her room? Well, she did die. My sister was with her when it happened. But I was out in the kitchen making us all something to eat. I can't even remember what it was.
A tear ran down Mallory's cheek.
By the time it was our turn for the ambulance to come, it was only to take away a body. My sister and I, we didn't know what to do. How were we going to be able to buy food or pay for electricity? We were at the mercy of companies already struggling to produce anything. factories in the middle of shutdowns due to waves of sickness. And it just seemed hopeless. But, we had learned about people living outside the cities. Smaller communities living off the land instead of trying to survive the old way. We thought, if that was real, maybe we should just leave the city behind. Somehow figure out a way to be like those people. Like you.
I nodded. For a long time, I'd wondered why anyone had ever chosen to stay in the cities. Eventually, I realized not everyone was lucky enough to have inherited an off-grid cabin like I did. I couldn't imagine the impossibility of getting started from scratch. Mallory gripped the edges of her sweater dress so tightly she trembled.
About a week after our mom died, my sister gave me some laundry she just finished washing. She asked me to hang it out on the balcony to dry, and while I did that, she locked me outside. I thought it was a prank at first, but she wouldn't let me in, and I got upset. I was banging on the door, yelling at her through the glass to open up. She told me she couldn't because she was sick. She'd started developing symptoms the night before, and she struggled with it all night and all morning, and finally, I begged her to open the door. She refused. She said there was no safe way for us to stay together. Our mother's attempts to protect us hadn't worked, so my sister decided to take drastic action while she could.
My heart sank like a stone with every word she spoke.
She locked you out to save you.
Mallory nodded slowly.
We both cried, looking at each other from opposite sides of the glass, while she begged me to go. So, I did. I climbed down the fire escape and just started walking. I wandered along the river and out through the suburbs into the woods. I didn't have anywhere to go, so I just kept on going. Eventually, I was heading up the mountain, totally lost, and that's when I found this place.
I shook my head, completely at a loss for words. I never could have imagined this was her tale. Even when she first came to me, bleeding and rain-drenched, she'd been bright and kind and helpful. Then I remembered the quiet little sobs I'd heard after turning my back, and the way she sometimes seemed so far away. I wanted to wrap her up in my arms and hold her so tight that no more grief could touch her. She turned and smiled at me through her tears. And I realized how good she was at putting on that brave, optimistic face.
I still think that maybe, somehow my sister's okay. Maybe she called for help and they came in time, and found room for her in a hospital ward, and she's fighting right now to pull through. I wonder if this was fate all along. I found you, and you taught me all these things. And we're all going to be just fine.
Stunned by her words, I slid off the couch and knelt before her. My body acted on its own. Relieved that she was safe, here with me, I took her hands in mine to reassure her.
I think you're right. I think it was fate. Because as much as you needed someone like me, I needed someone like you even more.
I felt like I was drowning in her eyes. The rain was beating down outside, roaring louder as gusts of wind sent torrents crashing against the cabin. I felt this closeness with her, and I hungered for more. More talking, more banter, more laughter, more time, more touching, more everything. Through the noise of the rain, I heard the pot of stew I'd left on the stove starting to bubble.
I should check that.
Mallory wiped her tears as I got up and returned to the kitchen. The stew had thawed and heated through quite nicely, especially considering I'd left it unattended for so long. Imagine how awkward it would have been to serve her burnt food after that whole talk, snorted my brain. I brought Mallory a bowl. She thanked me. We sat and ate and talked a little, the conversation growing lighter as the cabin darkened. The storm kept on and on outside, and soon rolling claps of thunder were shaking the sky. Mallory's face grew paler as the noise grew. She set her empty bowl aside and shifted uncomfortably, eyes glistening.
It's gotten pretty late. I guess we should go to sleep.
Are you okay?
Oh, totally. I just feel a little on edge during storms, that's all. No big deal. It's really fine.
Okay. Well, there's the crank flashlight on the desk over by the door, if you feel like you need some backup light. And you know I'm just upstairs.
Yeah, come bounce me later.
Mallory.
I climbed upstairs, got undressed, and crawled into bed. I stared at the ceiling as rain pounded the window beside me, wind howling down over the mountain range. I thought about everything Mallory had told me, and everything that had happened between us over the past few days. I turned off the light. Slowly, I drifted towards sleep, less and less aware of the flashes of lightning and booming thunder. I started to dream without fully realizing it. Imagined that my old house cat, Fidget, had crawled on the bed with me, imagining that my bed was floating on ocean waves. A crack of thunder louder than the rest, and a squeal coming from somewhere very close woke me. Oh, Mallory, it's okay. Mallory peered at me from beneath my own blankets. For a moment, I thought it was a dream. But no, I could feel her there beside me, trembling.
I'm sorry. I lied and I'm not fine. I don't like thunder. I just get so scared. I can't help it.
The tremors in her voice were even worse than in her body. I'd suspected the storm had made her a little uneasy, but I had no idea she'd been fighting down this much terror. I sat up, reaching for her, my only instinct to comfort and protect. That's when I remembered I was in my underwear. Maybe she wouldn't notice.
It's okay. It's only noise. It'll be over soon.
She nuzzled into me, sniffling. Her face was red, moisture glistening on her face, her chest. She was sweating and crying, and her heart pounded so hard I could feel it through the mattress.
I don't want to sleep alone tonight.
Okay. It's okay.
I stopped short in disbelief of how much my mindset had changed. How had I gone from refusing to be anywhere near her to this? She was in my bed, and we were breathing each other's air. I even checked her temperature.
I want to stay with you.
She whispered this, touching my hands, her eyes pleading with me. She was so beautiful. All I wanted to do in that moment was kiss her. Yeah, I decided not to move, too afraid of ruining this already perfect moment. She'd come to me for safety and comfort, and I wanted to give that to her.
Of course you can stay. Get comfortable, okay?
She shifted closer to me, resting her head on the pillow next to mine. She sniffled, giving me a soft smile as I stroked her hair. Oh.
Thank you for everything. You make me feel so safe.
I watched Mallory's eyes fall shut. Her breathing became deep and slow, as though she'd fallen asleep. That little smile never faded. And as though she'd fallen asleep, that little smile never faded. I kept stroking her hair. It felt so soft between my fingers. I was hypnotized. How had I lived all alone for so long, and how I had not known what I was missing? As the storm gradually retreated and the night grew darker and quieter, I struggled to keep my eyes open. Maybe I was a little afraid that if I let myself fall asleep, I'd wake up to find this was all a dream. But eventually, I fell asleep anyway. Chapter 7, Integration. Wow. I don't think I can take another chapter of this today, so we're going to call it for today, and we will be back with Chapter 7 next week. But holy crap, this has been... I'm not going to lie, that part broke me. It came close. If the other chapters are anything like Chapter 6, yeah, I think this game is going to break me in all the good ways. I'll admit, this has been a great game so far. But what do you think of Cabin Fever? Let me know in the comments section down below. I'd really love to read your thoughts on this. While you're down there, don't forget to give this video a big thumbs up. I'd really appreciate that. In the description, you're going to see all the ways you can help support this channel. You can follow me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, TikTok, and Reddit. You can get your Irish Bandit merchandise from my Irish Bandit shop on redbubble.com. You can pick up your copy of my 5-star rated novel, Shade Falling, on Amazon. You can get that on either Kindle e-reader or on paperback. And you can buy me a coffee, where right now I have a goal set up where I want to get some Elgato gear for my PC and just make these streams look nicer. You can help out in the link down below. If you're new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe. And if you're already subscribed, tap the bell and you'll be notified whenever a brand new video goes live. I'll be back Wednesday with more Bioshock, and then I'll be back Friday with more Final Fantasy VII Remake, and then we'll be right back here next week for Chapter 7 Integration on Cabin Fever. So until then, have a great week, and I'll talk to you again very, very soon.